That night, the students in Government College didn't know anything was wrong. They were laughing, reading, some were even preparing for exams the next morning. Nobody knew that in a few minutes, everything would change. It started with a sound, a soft knock on the hostel gate. Very slow, very gentle, like someone who didn't want to wake anyone. At first, the seniors thought it was the security man, but when they checked, he wasn't there. Then the lights began to flicker. Once, twice, and the whole hostel became quiet. The kind of quiet that makes your heart beat loud in your ears. One of the boys, Emeka, looked out through the window and his voice almost disappeared. Because outside, standing in the dark, were 3 figures. No faces, no talking, just watching the hostel, like they were counting how many students were inside. And before anyone could move, one of them lifted a hand and pointed straight at the building. That was the moment the students realized they were not alone. And that night was the night they took us. My name is Patience, and what you're about to hear happened on a night no one can explain. Government College Amadi always felt alive. During the day, boys filled the compound with laughter, running feet, arguments about football, and the sound of metal spoons hitting plates in the dining hall. At night, the energy changed, softer, quieter, peaceful in a way that made the school feel like its own small world. But that night, the peace was missing. It began with the weather. Around 7:40 p.m., the sky darkened too quickly. Not like rain was coming, not like a normal evening. It looked as if the clouds had swallowed the last bit of light. Even the wind felt different, colder, heavier, almost like it carried a warning. Inside the hostel, boys were getting ready for prep. Some were ironing uniforms for the next day. Some were lying on their beds, scrolling through old textbooks. Some were talking in small groups. There was no reason to be afraid yet. But Emeka felt it first. He was sitting on his bunk, tying his shoelaces, when a strange feeling washed over him, like someone invisible was walking behind him. He turned, but no one was there. His heart beat faster for a moment, then he shook it off. Maybe he was tired. Maybe he needed to sleep earlier today. He didn't know. By 8:15 p.m., the boys had moved to the reading room. Pages flipped, pens scribbled. Someone yawned loudly. Another boy kept dozing off and waking up suddenly. Everything seemed normal, except for the quiet tension in the air. A few boys noticed it, but no one spoke about it. At 9:03 p.m., the first sign came. The lights flickered. Just once, then again, then they steadied. A few boys lifted their heads. Maybe the generator is acting up, someone muttered. But deep inside, everyone knew this wasn't the generator. 30 minutes passed. Nothing strange happened. The boys relaxed again. Then at 9:33 p.m., the second sign came. A soft knock echoed from the hostel gate. Not loud, not rushed, not the kind of knock someone makes when they need help. It was gentle and slow. Knock. 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 Chike, the senior prefect, looked up from his notebook. His face tightened slightly. He didn't like the sound. The school security man, Musa, never knocked like that. Musa always pushed the gate open or shouted the senior prefect's name. This knock didn't sound like Musa at all. Chike stood up. "Let me check," he said. 2 other seniors followed. Some curious juniors followed quietly, keeping distance. They reached the small window beside the gate and peeked out. Nothing. No one. just empty space and darkness stretching across the open yard. A junior whispered, "What if?" "Go back inside," Chike said softly. They returned to the reading room. Chike tried to continue writing, but his mind kept returning to the gate. Something felt wrong, something he couldn't explain. The third sign came at 9:48 p.m., and this one changed everything. The lights went out completely. Darkness swallowed the room. Chairs scraped, books dropped. A few boys shouted in fear. For 10 long seconds, everything was black. Then the lights flickered back, and that was the moment Emeka saw them. Outside the window, across the yard, 3 tall figures stood beside the mango tree, still, silent, watching. They weren't students. They weren't teachers. They weren't security guards. Their clothes were dark. Their faces were hidden in shadow. But the strangest thing was how they stood. Not like people waiting, not like people walking, but like people who had been standing there for a long time, waiting for someone to notice them. Emeka couldn't speak at first. His chest tightened. His legs felt weak. Then he whispered, "Chike, look." Chike came close. He froze the moment his eyes landed on the figures. "What is this?" he whispered. The boys behind them started murmuring. Fear spread like cold water dripping down their backs. Then the tallest figure lifted his arm and pointed directly at the hostel. Not at a window, not at a person, the whole building. The boys backward instantly, as if pushed by an invisible force. Chike said, "Close the curtains." But before anyone could move, the lights died again. Then footsteps echoed from outside. Soft, slow, steady, getting closer. None of the boys could move. Some clutched their books like shields. Some pressed their backs to the wall. Some simply cried silently. Then a voice came from outside. Soft, gentle, sad. "Come." Not a command, not a threat. A call. The boys looked at each other. Before they could react, their legs moved on their own. One step forward, then another. "No! Stop!" Chike whispered, trying to fight it. But his legs continued moving. It felt like something was pulling them, not roughly, not painfully, but firmly, like a parent leading a child away from danger. The boys moved toward the door. The door opened itself. The night air touched their faces, cold, strange, heavy. The 3 figures waited outside, silent, still, and the boys followed them into the dark yard, unable to resist. They didn't scream. They didn't run. They didn't struggle. They just walked, as if they were meant to. As if something unseen had decided, tonight, these children must leave this place. The forest behind the school was dark, but the figures walked ahead like they could see clearly. The boys followed step by step. Then in the quiet of the forest path, a faint orange light suddenly appeared behind them. Chike turned. His breath stopped. The hostel roof was glowing. Then flames shot up. The hostel was burning. The fire rose fast, bright and loud, lighting the whole sky. Some boys screamed. Some fell to their knees. Some cried openly. The figures stopped walking. They turned to face the boys. Then the tallest one slowly lifted his hood. There was no face underneath, only darkness, a deep, endless shadow. And then the voice, the same soft, sorrowful voice, spoke again. "We did not come to harm you." The boys trembled. "We came to take you away." A long silence passed. The fire behind them crackled loudly. The boys' hearts raced. The voice continued. "Tonight, danger entered your home, and you were not meant to be there." Chike whispered, "Who are you?" For a moment, the forest was quiet. Then the figures began to fade, like smoke dissolving into the night. And in the last whisper the boys heard, the voice said, "We protect the forgotten." Then they disappeared. The boys stood there, shaking, staring at the burning hostel in shock. Not kidnapped, not harmed, not taken away forever. Saved. Saved by something they didn't understand. Saved by something they were taught to fear. Saved by the very shadows they ran from. And that night, every boy who walked into the forest learned one truth. Sometimes the warnings we fear are the warnings meant to save our lives. The boys remained frozen long after the figures disappeared. Some of them collapsed to the ground. Some held their heads with shaking hands. Some kept staring at the burning hostel, whispering things they didn't even understand. But one thing was clear. None of them were ready to walk back. Chike stood there, breathing hard, his eyes still on the fire. He felt something strange inside him, a mixture of fear, confusion, and a small, quiet feeling he didn't know how to name. Relief. A relief that didn't make sense. The boys should have been sleeping in that hostel. They should have been inside when the fire started. They should have been screaming for help. But something led them away. Something warned them. Something protected them. Chike swallowed hard. His voice shook when he finally spoke. "We need to move." The boys looked at him with wide, scared eyes. Where do we move?" one asked. "The hostel is burning," another whispered. "What if something else comes? What were those things?" No one had answers. The fire crackled loudly behind them, sending sparks into the sky. Emeka grabbed Chike's arm gently. "Chike, if they wanted to hurt us, they had many chances, but they didn't." Chike didn't say anything. He stared into the dark forest where the figures had vanished. His heart felt heavy, but his mind kept replaying the voice. "Tonight, danger entered your home. You were not meant to be there." He took a shaky breath. We stay together," he said. "Nobody walks alone." Slowly, they formed a small circle around the clearing, standing close, trying to comfort one another. For the next few minutes, they said nothing. Only the sound of fire filled the night. Then something changed. The wind shifted, the leaves softly rustled, and a cold chill passed over their skin, like a silent hand brushing through the group. Emeka's eyes widened. "Did you feel that?" Before Chike could answer, a thin line of light, soft and white, appeared deeper in the forest. Not from the fire behind them, not from any torch, but glowing by itself. A faint, floating light. It moved slowly, gently, like it was inviting them. The boys backed away. "No, no, no," one whispered. "I'm not going there. What if they're them again? What if something is waiting?" But then they heard something else. Voices from the school compound, shouting, screaming, running footsteps. The rest of the school was awake, and from the direction of the burning hostel, they heard someone shout, "Are the boys inside? Somebody check inside!" The boys froze. If anyone tried to enter the hostel to save them, they could get injured too. Chike's heart pounded painfully. "We have to go closer," he said. "We need to show ourselves. They think we're inside." But when he tried to take a step toward the fire, the ground vibrated beneath his foot. Not violently, not dangerously, just slightly, like a gentle warning. He lifted his foot in shock. What was that?" Emeka whispered, voice trembling. "Chike, I don't think we're supposed to go back yet." The boys turned their eyes toward the faint white light again. It stayed where it was, floating, waiting like someone holding a lantern in the dark. A quiet breeze passed through the trees. Leaves shifted softly, and for a brief second, Chike heard something that didn't sound human. A whisper. Just one word. Stay. His whole body froze. He looked at the boys. They could see the fear in his eyes. But deep inside, they also saw something else. Trust. Something in the forest was guiding them, not to hurt them, but to keep them out of danger they couldn't see. A junior boy started crying softly. I want to go home. I want my mother. Chike knelt and held him. Listen to me, he said gently. I don't know what is happening tonight. I don't know why we were let out, but something saved us. Something took us away from danger. We have to stay calm. The boy nodded weakly. They all turned back to the white light. It began to drift deeper into the forest. Slowly, as if it wanted them to follow. Chike hesitated. Then he whispered, Everyone, hold hands. Stay together. No matter what happens. The boys formed a long chain, hand in hand, their hearts shaking, their breaths trembling. And with the fire behind them and the strange light ahead of them, they took their first step deeper into the forest, following something they did not understand, something that had already saved their lives once, something that felt like destiny itself. The path was narrow, the darkness thick. Every sound echoed loudly, crickets, snapping branches, the distant roar of the burning hostel. But the white light guided them, floating slowly, always just far enough to follow, never too far to lose sight of. Minutes passed, 10, 15, maybe more. Then they reached a small open space between the trees. The light stopped, and suddenly, the feeling in the air changed. It became warmer, still, peaceful. The boys felt it immediately. The fear in their chest loosened, the trembling in their hands softened. Emeka said, Chike, it feels like something is protecting us. Chike didn't speak. He didn't need to. He felt it too. And unknown to all of them, this was only the beginning. The unseen had saved them from the fire, but there was another danger coming, one they could not see, one the forest itself seemed to know, and one the protectors were preparing them for. That night wasn't just the night they were taken. It was the night destiny became real. The forest clearing was so quiet, the boys could hear their own breaths. Chike tightened his grip on Emeka's hand, scanning the trees. The soft white light that had guided them now hovered above the ground like a small, glowing moon. No one moved. No one spoke. They all felt the same strange thing. Peace, mixed with something deeper. Something watching over them. Finally, one boy whispered, What happens now? No one answered. Then, like gentle footsteps made of wind, the air shifted again. The boys froze. Leaves rustled softly behind them. Twigs snapped under weight. A quiet pulse moved through the clearing like something invisible was passing by. Chike turned slowly. And there they were. The three figures, the same ones from the hostel yard, stood at the edge of the clearing. But here, in the forest light, they looked different. They still wore dark clothing, their faces were still hidden in shadow, but something softer, something calmer surrounded them. Not fear this time. Presence. The boys stepped back. Some covered their faces, some held each other tighter, but the figures did not move closer. Instead, the soft voice came again, the same voice that called them before, but gentler now. You are safe. The boys looked around, confused and shaking. Safe? How? Why? Chike swallowed hard. His voice trembled, but he forced himself to speak. Why did you bring us here? Why did you take us?" Silence. Then the tallest figure lifted his hand slowly, like he didn't want to frighten them. He pointed toward the direction of the burning hostel. Even from far away, the fire lit up the sky behind the trees. "You were not meant to be there," the voice said. One boy whispered, But how did you know?" The voice replied, soft and solemn, "We were sent to watch." The boys exchanged frightened looks. "Sent? Sent by who?" Chike asked. The figures didn't speak for a long time. Then the voice answered, "By the one who guards the forgotten." The forest grew silent. Forgotten? Who were the forgotten? Why would someone guard them? The voice continued, "There are places and people that the world does not see. Children's cries are unheard, lives that move through shadows, but they are seen, they are known, and they are protected." A junior boy stepped forward timidly. Are you angels?" The clearing held its breath. The tallest figure tilted his head slightly. The voice replied, "We walk where we are needed. Some call us angels. Some call us shadows. Some call us warnings." Another boy whispered, I've been feeling something all evening, like someone was watching us." The voice responded, "Yes, we tried to warn you. The flickering lights, the heavy wind, the silence. We spoke through the night, but many do not hear." Chike felt a shiver run down his spine. "So, you came to take us because of the fire?" The voice went quiet again. Then slowly, "The fire was only part of the danger." The boy's heart dropped. "What?" Amika whispered, "What do you mean?" The tallest figure stepped forward. "When the fire started, the roof fell, the walls broke. But the heat, the smoke, they were not the only threat." The boys' bodies tensed. "What else was supposed to happen?" Chike asked. The figure lifted a hand toward the trees. The leaves around them rustled softly, like reacting to something far away. "There was something approaching your building," the voice said. "Something that came with the fire. Something that stayed unseen." Fear gripped every boy in the clearing. "What was it?" someone whispered. "A person? An animal?" The voice answered quietly, "A spirit of destruction." Silence. Cold, heavy silence. The boys' breaths shook. "When disaster comes," the voice continued, "it does not always come alone. Fire can call things. Pain can call things. And tonight, something answered the call." Chike felt cold all over. And if we stayed in the hostel?" he asked. "You would have been lost to both fire and the unseen." A trembling boy whispered, "So you didn't just save us from burning, you saved us from something else?" "Yes." Another long silence. The boys slowly began to understand. These figures were not kidnappers, not enemies, not shadows meant to haunt them. They were protectors. Unknown, unseen, unexplained, but protectors all the same. The white light above the ground brightened slightly, as if reacting to the truth. Then one boy asked the question everyone was afraid to ask. "Why us?" The voice softened, sounding almost human now. "Because destiny saw danger waiting for you. because your names are not forgotten, because your lives mean something greater than tonight. A few boys began crying quietly, not from fear this time, from relief, from something deep inside their hearts. Chike stepped forward. "What happens now?" he asked. The tallest figure slowly raised his hand. The boys watched as the shadows around him started to shift and ripple. "You will go back," the voice said. "And when you do, they will ask what happened. You will tell them the truth your hearts can carry." Chike nodded slowly. "What about you?" he asked. "Will we see you again?" The figures faded slightly, like mist breaking apart. "When we are needed," the voice replied. "We return." The glowing white light drifted upward, rising above the treetops like a small star. Then the figures stepped back into the darkness. Their bodies turned into smoke, their shadows dissolved into the night, and the last words the boys heard or whispered like a prayer: "We protect the forgotten." Then they were gone. The clearing fell silent once again. The boys stood there, shaking, not from fear, but from the weight of what they had just witnessed. Slowly, softly, Chike said, We have to go back." They walked out of the forest together, hand in hand, moving toward the glowing firelights of the school compound, toward the teachers calling their names, toward the night that would never be forgotten. When they reached the open field, the school staff saw them and rushed forward, crying and shouting for relief. "You're alive! Where did you go? We thought you were inside the fire. We called your names. None of you answered." Chike looked back at the dark forest. Something deep in his heart whispered, "We did answer. Just not to you." He turned back to the teachers, and for the first time that night, Chike smiled weakly as he said, "We were taken, but not by danger." And that night, we learned that sometimes the shadows we fear are the same hands sent to protect us. Thank you for watching this story. If you enjoyed it, please give it a like, share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more.